Hi, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my tutorial for exercise 1 of our coding assignment for chapter 5 of the Zelle 3rd edition Python book. And so here's what we're going to do, okay? Um, I'm thinking, how can you understand the requirements for this program? Well, I have an already written version, and I'm just going to run it. Okay, so this is um, the name of the program that we're going to create is um, Vowel Analytics. Okay, and this is going to be a text processing program. And we're going to type in a line of text, like a sentence. Okay, so the program is going to prompt the user for a line of text to be analyzed, and then colon space. And then the user is going to type in text like this. Now here's a line from the play My Fair Lady, and it says, "The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain." Why did I choose that? Well, I happen to know it has a lot of vowels. It has a lot of AIs, right? Uh, and so the program skips a line so we can separate the prompt from the output. And then in turn, it uh, it analyzes each of the words. So here are the words: the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Okay, that seems reasonable. And what I've done is I've formatted kind of friendly output. So I've taken the first of the words here, the, and I put it into double quotes, so you know I'm talking about the word itself. Okay, so it says the has one vowels. Okay, and the next one says rain has two vowels, and they seem to be right. And we have the e and we have the ai in rain. Okay, now is it inappropriate to say the has one vowels? Because proper English would be the has one vowel. Well, once we get to chapter 7 and we learn about conditional execution, if we really wanted to, we could make sure that if the quantity was 1, that we said a vowel instead of vowels. But we really haven't gotten to that feature yet, so we're not going to do it. Okay, and even with this, it's still pretty user friendly, even with that grammatical mistake. Okay, so another thing to see is that the word the is in all lowercase, although I typed it in mixed case. Okay, and plain is in all lowercase, and I typed it in uppercase. I don't know why. Um, a better example would be Spain. I typed in uppercase S, but it's lowercase here. And the reason this has happened is I've shifted the text to lowercase before I processed it because it's easier to match um, if you know what case the characters are in. So typical programmer trick is if you're looking to match particular characters and you want to do it the easy way, is that you shift the sample that you're analyzing to lowercase, and then you only have to look for the lowercase, in this case, the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. Whereas if you wanted to do it, if you didn't want to have to shift it, then you would have to you have to look for both the lowercase a and the uppercase a. Okay, so we've taken that old programmer trick of shifting it. So then it skips a line and it says 9 words were analyzed. And again, this is a pretty, this is formatted in a kind of a polite way. It's a proper sentence. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's counted them right. And then we just get the usual process finish with exit code 0. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to write the program to do this. Okay, now, if you're following along at home and you're thinking, well, I don't want to see Kevin's pseudocode before I write my own. I take a chance to write my own pseudocode. Well, here's a place to pause because I'm going to show you my pseudocode in just a second. So pause here. And now we're unpaused and we're actually going to take a look at the pseudocode. So here's my pseudocode for val analytics.py. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to prompt the user for a line of text to be analyzed. Okay. And now I've skipped a line. Am I allowed to skip lines in pseudocode? Yeah. Pseudocode has high magic, right? It's your sketch for the program, okay? So, because you're going to be the consumer of this, you're entitled to a lot of latitude, okay? So, I skip a line pretty typically to say, now I'm going to work on another thing. So, I prompted the user, shift the line of text to lowercase. I split the line of text into word strings. Okay, I guess I'm going to use the split method of the string class to do that. And then I have a blank line, and now, I have a loop. For word in words, okay, I set the vowel count equal to 0. Okay. And then I add the count of the quantity of the lowercase a in the word to vowel count. Okay, so there is a count. There's a count method of the string class, so we can get a count of the lowercase a. And then we do that for E, I, O, U, okay? So we're accumulating the count of the vowels into vowel count. And I print the number of vowels in the word. I probably could have said print vowel count. Okay, it's a little clear there. And then I print the number of words that were analyzed. Okay, and gee, I don't have any pseudocode really. I'm not really saying how I'm going to print the number of words to be analyzed. But I happen to know I'm going to use a programming feature in which I don't have to have counted them as I'm going around. Okay, there's something about the way that we split the line of text that I can go back and figure out how many words are in this. Okay, so that's pseudocode. So if you're following along at home and you want to take a chance to figure out the coding before you see my code, well, here's the place to pause. Okay, so we're going to pause here. And now we're going to unpause and we're going to build the code. Okay? So I have here a project, and I'm going to create a new Python file, and I'm going to call it val analytics. And I'm not going to add the .py because PyCharm's going to do that for me. Okay. And now I'm going to begin to type in my code. Okay, and again, I'm not going to have you watch me type. I'm going to bring over the code a couple lines at a time from my already completed version. Okay. Now, one thing that I do a lot is I make the type look bigger with this zoom scrolling feature. And a question that I get a lot is how do I do that? And I tried to show one class during the last week. So in the current semester, if you go to our week 4, which is where we're going to be, I have a reference to an article by this O.M. Errol called PyCharm Enabling Scroll Zoom. So if you go here and follow the directions, you'll know how to turn on scroll zoom. Okay? So I've got that for you. Okay, so that's how I do scroll zoom, and it makes it easier for you to see it. Actually, when it's that small, it's maybe a little bit hard for me to see too. Okay, so we have that. So what do I have to do? Well, I know that I want to do these two things in the beginning because they're right in the beginning of my pseudocode. So let's go here and put in these two lines. Oh, and I forgot to put the call to main at the end. Let's give us a bunch of blank lines before we have the call to main. Okay. All right. That's complaining I've got too many blank lines. So I'm going to prompt for a line of input. I'll put it into the variable line. Okay. And then I'll call the method lower on line. And there are a whole bunch of methods that shift the case. Lower shifts it to lowercase, upper to uppercase, title to title case. Okay, so that's how we're going to do that. All right, and then let's see what else we're going to do. Oh, now we're going to have the loop for word in words, reset the vowel count, and then we're going to do these. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to skip a line for emphasis to say I'm working on the next part. Oh, I know what I forgot to do. I forgot to split. Oh, sorry, I forgot to split the line of text into strings. So let's do that. So I'm going to define define a list called words, and I'm going to assign it the output of lower line, and then I'm going to call the method split. Okay, and the split method reads a line of text, and it creates a list. Okay, and if we don't pass it any parameters, it splits the strings on spaces, which works well for sentences, right? And so we get that. Okay, now this, I'd like to emphasize for you folks a lot the fact that you don't have to do all the work before you test. This is enough to test. So let's do this. So let's just print words. Okay, we're going to print a list. And let's see what it looks like when we get this far. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. So let's right click and say we want to run vowel analytics. And let's give it a short sentence like I lost my dog, period. And if we look down here, I'm going to zoom scroll on this. It says I lost my dog. And what do we have? Shifted to lowercase because that's a trick. I lost my dog. So if we split without it passing any argument to split, the default is split the string on spaces and it would create a list of strings. And that turns out really good for text processing. Are we concerned that we have a period on the end of this? Well, for some kind of processing, we might be, okay? But for counting vowels, it's just going to be, it's not even going to create any noise, okay? But it's a lot easier to count them when they're all on lower case. Okay, that looks good. So that was a test, piece of test code. We'll take that out. And let's go down. Let's start the processing. Okay. Say for word in words. Okay. Well, that's pseudocode, but it's also Python. And we're going to set the val count to 0. And then we're going to have to come up with the Python to do each of these increments. So let's look at the Python for that. Okay, so let's add for word and words. Okay, now why are we able to use for word and words? Okay, so for word and words is using the for in construct, which is called iteration. Okay, and it turns out that words is a list. Okay, and all lists have this quality of being iterable. You can iterate over them. So we can do for word in words, and we're going to visit each of them in turn. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set the vowel count equal to 0. Okay, because that was in our pseudocode. All right, and then let's do this. So let's say vowel count. Okay, and we're going to accumulate the number of vowels in vowel count. So let's use plus equal. That's the way we accumulate things. And then let's say word. We're going to call count on word, and we're going to get the count of the first of the vowels, A. That looks pretty good. And it's really pretty short code. Okay, well that's good. Let's clone this for each of the vowels. So it's A, E, I, O, U, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to need 4 more of these. All right. Well, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 altogether. Okay. And we're going to change it to A, E, I, O, and U. Looks like I've got one too many. So I'll get rid of 1. Okay. Okay. And let's look back at my pseudocode. I'm looking at my pseudocode here and I'm thinking, yeah, that's it. I'm going to want to print the vowel count. Okay, so let's not pretty print it like we saw it before in the output. For testing, let's just print vowel count. Okay, and this would be a time to test again. So uh, can I just click on the play button here? Yeah, I've changed some code, but if I click off the last line I changed, it should cause the editor to save. And now I can just run it again. And let's try another short sentence. My dog has fleas. Okay, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, enter. Okay, and so what are we getting? My has 0 vowels. Dog has 1. Um, has 1, and fleas has 2. Yeah, that's good. Okay, but let's go back to what the output was supposed to look like and see. So it looks like we're doing the counting well, but it looks like for each of these words, we should be saying the has 1 vowels. Rain has 1 vowels. Okay, so we're going to need a pretty print that includes the word and the count. All right, let's do it. Okay, so for this print, let's give ourselves a little more room. How are we going to do this? Well, we learned last week that the way to format some output and the way to put the way to plunk variables into a line of output is to use F strings. So let's print an F string. And what's the first thing that we want? Okay, well, we'd like to have the word surrounded by double quotes. Okay, so how are we going to do it? Well, we just put the double quotes right in there. Double quotes, double quote, and then we need to put into curly braces the name of the variable. That's going to be word. And then we need a double quote on the other side. Okay, word, space, has, and then we want to put in vowel count, space, vowels, period. That looks like what we're looking for there. Great. Very nice. All right. So let's give this another run. My dog has fleas. And let's look at this. Make it look a little bigger. So we say my has 0 vowels, dog has 1 vowels, has 1 vowels, fleas has 2 vowels. Well, that looks good. Does that look like our output? It does look like our output. Well, I'm showing you the program. It does look like our output, but we had a blank line here. And we're not currently showing a blank line. So how can we do a blank line? Well, one trick that we've learned in the last week or two is that you could put an escape new line character at the beginning of each line that you print. So you could say \n. Okay, but and let's do that. It's going to turn out that's not what we want. Okay. So let's do that and say, my dog has fleas. Okay, and as you see here, we're getting a blank line between all those. We're skipping too many lines, okay? So we don't want to skip a line here. We just want to skip a line before we start the loop. And I'm going to tell you that the easiest way to do that is just by putting an empty print statement right before it. Okay, that's the easiest way to do that. So let's try this again. Let's run. Let's do my dog has fleas. That looks good. We got our blank line. Okay, so what's left to do? Well, we can look either at our pseudocode. Let's look at our pseudocode. Print the number of words that were analyzed. Okay, and let's go over here. Okay, 9 words were analyzed. So we need to skip a line, and then we need to print 9 words were analyzed. Okay. Let's do this. So I'm going to tell you we can do it with one print statement. Okay, but where should it be? Should it be part of the loop? No, we don't want it to be part of the loop. We want it to be out here on the same kind of logical level as the loop. So let's do this. We're going to have a print. Okay. And let's think about this. Okay. We're gonna format a string because we're gonna have a combination of words and values. Okay. So how can we haven't been counting the words as we go along. Is there a way to figure out how many we have? Yeah, there are, because words is a list and we can ask for the length of a list. That's why we didn't have to count them as we were going around the loop. So we could say this. We could do an F string again. Okay. And we want to skip a line, so let's begin with a \n to skip a line. Okay, and we want to say, we want to begin with a number, so that's we're gonna put something into curly braces. Okay, and can we just use a variable name? No, we have to call, we're gonna say that we want the len for the length of words. Okay, so if it's my dog has fleas, it should be 4. Okay, and then we're going to say 9, whatever it is, words were analyzed, period. Okay, let's see if that gives us what we want. We get too many blank lines before main. Okay, that's good. So let's give that a run. And we're going to do, let's make this a little bigger. My dog has fleas. And let's see that. My has 0, dog has 1, has 1, fleas has 2. 4 words were analyzed, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's just run it again with the test data that I showed you before, which is the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. And there it is. The same deal. Okay, are we done yet? Well, we could be done, right? But we're going to introduce an idea here that we're going to call refactoring. Okay, well, what is refactoring? Well, in the current week of the course here in the spring of 2022, I have a link to a site by this fellow Martin Fowler. And it's called refactoring.com. And here's a picture of Martin Fowler. And here's a picture of his book, which is called Refactoring. This is the second edition of Refactoring. And this is a great book. It's more technical than we need to get into now. But he is the go-to person for refactoring. And refactoring is one of the biggest movements in programming today. If I had to pick a movement that is really hot and really adding a lot of value, it's refactoring. So he says refactoring is a disciplined technique for restructuring an existing body of code. So that's some piece of code or pieces of code, altering its internal structure without changing its external behavior. Its heart is a series of small behavior preserving transformations. Behavior preserving because we don't want to change it. Each transformation, called a refactoring, does little, but a sequence of these transformation can produce a significant restructuring. Okay. Now, he goes on to say why we want to do it. Okay. And here's why we want to do it. We want to make the code easier to read, easier to test, easier to maintain later on. Okay, so how could we refactor this? Is there some aspect of what we have here? I mean, this is a pretty small program. It's pretty tight. It looks good. And it's pretty straightforward. Well, here's what some people might say. They might say that maybe we lost an opportunity here by looking for each of these individually. Okay? Because what if we decided that we wanted to not look for the vowels, we wanted to look for the consonants, which are the ones that are not the vowels. Okay? And instead of these 5, we would have 21 that we had to do. You know, do we really want to have 21 lines exactly like this? And as soon as you see code that repeats like this, you might see an opportunity for making improvements. Now, is this code wrong? No, it's not. It works. It's simple. We're looking for the vowels. I think our first implementation should probably look about like we see here. But there is an opportunity to refactor it, have it work the same way, but maybe make it a little bit more maintainable. Okay. And when I say maintainable, I kind of mean the following thing. A lot of times when people say maintainable, they mean I may have to come back to the program and change the functionality because the requirements have changed. Right? So these are people working kind of IT departments, and the world is kind of changing around the organization. The organization has to adapt, so they need to adapt their systems. So they go to the IT department and say, I need the system to do something different. Now, for most people in my class, they're not going to be working in this kind of IT department on the production systems. Some are, maybe 5 people from the class are going to do that, but another 20 are probably going to be data science types. Okay, so how could the world change in a way that this program is not ready to help you? Well, what if some user were to come to you and say, I need you to analyze not the vowels, but the consonants? Well, how would you go do that? Okay, you'd have to write a lot of code. Okay, now, in your case, you'd be kind of cloning the program to make another program for the next project that you were going to do. Okay, so you're not really, it's kind of like the requirements are changing, but a lot of times you're going to be kind of cloning one project into another project. Okay, that's just the way of it. This is not as clonable for the future as I'd like it to be. Now, it turns out that because strings are iterables too, that I can make the following change. Okay, I can put all the characters that I want to find in a variable that holds a string. So let's create a variable called vowels. Okay. And let's give it the strings A, E, I, O, U. Okay. And it's got a green underline because that's not in the dictionary. Okay. And then let's take this code here, okay, which is an opportunity for refactoring. And let's replace it with this. It's coming. There it is. So what are we doing? So here's what we're doing. It turns out that we can iterate in the same sense that we can use for in to iterate over the items in a list. We can use for in to iterate over the characters in a string. So we can say for a character, that's going to be one of the characters in vowels, okay, and then we can say vowel count plus equal word count character. So instead of having 5 statements, we have replaced them with 2. Okay, now it's a little trickier thinking, okay, but it is more general programming. And if we wanted to come back and do all the consonants, okay, which again would have taken 21 of the lines that we have instead of the 5 that we have now. All we would have to do would be to come up here and say, okay, instead of vowels, I want to call this consonants. Instead of A, E, I, O, U, I'm going to call this, again, all the consonants. So you'd have to type them out here. And, you know, you change some of the things here. Vowel would become consonant and all that kind of stuff. But the code would work, okay? Even when we're looking for 21 different things instead of only 5. So I think this is a better kind of more general design. It's not particularly more efficient, okay? But it is kind of more maintainable. If you decide that you're looking for something different, you only have to come in here and change what's up here. Okay, so let's give this a test. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I want to give this a test. Let's come down here and run it. And let's, again, let's give it the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Okay, so let's do that. And let's look at the answer. So we've got 9 words. That's the same. The 1, rain 2, in 1, Spain 2, stays 1, mainly 2, in 1, the 1, plain 2. Perfect. Okay. Now, in this refactoring, okay, what have we done? Well, this is a code that's maybe a little bit harder to read for the beginner, okay? Because a lot of times the beginner is not thinking of a string as something you can iterate over. I'm doing it here because I want to emphasize that to you, okay? But it's very maintainable, and it's also very clonable. And for a lot of the practitioners are going to come out of my class. They're going to be doing a series of kind of similar projects. Clients are going to be coming to them and say, remember that thing you did for me last week? Well, I want one like it, but with different data, and we're looking for different things. So the clonability of your code is going to be important to you. That might be your version of maintainability. Okay, and this is a much more clonable code. So again, in terms of refactoring, okay, what did we do? Well, we didn't change the behavior. We already had it working before we started the refactoring, okay? And we made one incremental change, okay, that made the code more maintainable in a kind of clonability sense. Okay. And maybe it made it a little bit less readable to the newbie, but not to somebody who really kind of understands um, that strings are iterable in the same sense that lists are iterable. Okay, so that's it. That's my final version. I'm going to leave you to do your problem, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye bye.